All right, William, how you doing today, man?
Shit, chilling, man, chilling.
Where'd you originate from? Yeah.
Originally I'm from Houston, Texas. I grew up, kind of went to high school and shit in Wichita Falls, Texas. But yeah, originally I'm from Houston.
How was your childhood growing up? What was it? How would you explain it?
Man, issues. I mean, but who don't have? We all got issues coming up as a child. My mom and dad were drug addicts. I got two younger sisters. We all 2 years apart. I'm 40, I think, right?
Right.
82. I'm 40, so I don't know, man. Like, my biggest thing was basketball, and that was kind of like my get away from home. My crazy ass dad. My mom, she was obese, but she had a drug problem to where she couldn't really go out and get the drugs herself. But my dad was like the running man. You know what I'm saying? He made the run, come back. Sometimes he made the run, come back after being gone a week. As long as he came back with drugs, everything was cool. Like I said, just coming up in a drug house. Me and my sisters, I tried to make the best for it, but my getaway was basketball. From my junior high all the way up into my high school year, I had basketball to look forward to. That was my getaway. So when I wasn't at home, I woke up every morning looking forward to going to school because that was my getaway.
Getting away out the house.
Exactly. Getting
what
away
made
from
you get
them.
into basketball?
I really got into basketball my freshman year. I went to S.H. Ryder High School in Wichita Falls, and I had some white folks bend over backwards for me, bro. Like, my coach, this black coach, like my freshman year was a black coach. He was new to pretty much an all white school, but he was new. That was his first year there. His name was Coach Grigsby, and he went and got the rule changed in order for freshmen. Freshmen weren't allowed to play varsity basketball, so he went and got the rule changed for me, and I played varsity basketball from my freshman year all the way up until I graduated. I wouldn't say I was a star, but that's what I was known for in school, playing basketball. And even though I had a black coach that first and last year, I had a lot of white people that did a lot of things for me. I went to school with like judges and lawyers and doctors' sons. And I was at their house like every other day, like eating up their food, playing the video games and shit. Actually, we'll probably get to it later on, but like when I caught my first case, I ended up going before the judge. I went before was one of the students, one of the basketball players that I was in his house every other day,
That's crazy.
and he looked out. He looked out for me. But yeah, I had some white people bend over backwards for me, and I hate to say it now, looking back on it, but I let a lot of people down, bro.
Like you felt like your talent go to waste.
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of those has-been stories where, like, damn, first thing everybody see when they see, damn, nigga, you tall, man. You play football, you play basketball, and I gotta give my story. Yeah, I used to, but you know how black people are.
Like, bro,
You
I
know
had
how
this
black people are,
I
man.
get you, man.
We fuck shit up, man. But it was hard trying to. I mean, cause I came up selling dope. I done sold dope, gang banging. I done shot at people. I done done a lot of shit that I'm not proud of today, but it was hard trying to do that shit in the streets, going through what I'm going through at home, but yet getting my ass up, which I did get my ass up and go to school every day. I made sure I went to school and practice every day. And it's like I had the motivation, I had the talent, and I had people in my corner. I had everything the black man need to succeed. At the time, I felt like I had everything I needed to succeed. It was just me getting myself out of that and stop. And I wasn't. It's not like
You were trying to balance both things at
exactly.
the same
That's
time.
I was trying to do them both,
It was either you had your foot one way and
and
your foot the other, but
and
you
I
wasn't
didn't know
committed.
which one. I wasn't committed to neither one.
What
And
was-
by the time I felt like okay, now I'm committed to basketball, I went and done some dumb shit and caught a case. And
So you went to college and everything?
I graduated in 2001, and after I graduated, I was supposed to stay out in Wichita Falls. I graduated in 2001. After I graduated, I was supposed to stay out for about three weeks to a month before I was supposed to actually leave Wichita Falls and go to Cisco, Texas. You ever heard of Cisco, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And I ended up getting a scholarship to Cisco Junior College. I couldn't get a high enough score on my SAT, ACT. I took it 2 or 3 times. I couldn't get a high enough score to go D1. I had a whole bunch of letters and shit coming from D1 colleges. I had a lot of big colleges looking at me.
Can you name a few if you don't mind? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
You know.
It was really just like a big ass box of letters, of recruitment letters, and I couldn't tell you to this day. I just knew I had a lot of coaches looking at me. My coach told me, if you get a high enough score on your SAT, ACT, then we'll start talking about some of them, but I never did, so I never looked into none of them. So the college that I did know wanted to take me was Cisco Junior College, so I ended up having to go JUCO. But after I graduated, I stayed out. After we graduated, summer started, I stayed out for about a week. And my ex-girlfriend's little brother, he was like my little brother. He was underage at the time. He ended up calling a pizza man, ordering a pizza from his sister's apartment's landline. And him and his little homeboy was about to rob the dude. And I pull up right when they had made the phone call, not knowing that they had made the phone call from the landline. I pull up and I jump in and I become part of it. So they ordered a pizza to an abandoned apartment, to an empty apartment right around the corner from his sister's house. We pulled the pizza man in. We don't hurt him. We know it wasn't nothing big. We ain't had no pistols or nothing like that. It was pretty much strong arm robbery. Took the little money he had on him, took the pizza. I ended up going to his car, looking at his car, going to his car. And for some reason, I don't know to this day why, but when I went in his car, he had money everywhere. It's like he had made it rain and it was money all over the back seats. And anyway, I ended up getting the money, got all the money, come back to the apartment. We just put him in handcuffs. And I'm saying we just put him in handcuffs. Like, I don't mean you know what I'm saying? Because what we did was fucked up. Anybody would, But we ended up leaving him in the closet. He ended up getting out, and we left. We left and went back around his sister's house. So after we went back around his sister's house, 30 minutes later, boom, 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 boom. The cops coming, they at the door. We like, what the, we don't know how to. I'm like, damn, dude, what the fuck? How the fuck they know where we at? And I don't know, but he just talking like, bro, where'd you make the phone call from? I made it from my sister's phone. You made it from what sister's phone? I landline. I'm like, you dumbass nigga. Everybody know caller ID. So they at the door and we end up staying in the apartment for, we end up hiding. We didn't come out. We ended up, you know how they got the little squares on the top of the ceilings? Yeah. We ended up, all 3 of us, remind you, them 2 underage, I'm just graduating. We ended up crawling to the top of the ceiling and we just sit it out. We thinking they just gonna burn off. Remind you, we're upstairs in a big ass apartment complex. And they end up, long story short, they end up kicking the door in. I was up there asleep when they kicked the door in. I moved a certain way and my ass fell through the sheetrock. My ass fell through the sheetrock, so I come falling out the motherfucking ceiling. Instantly, nigga. They on our ass, got guns drawn down on us, whatever.
Honestly, if that didn't happen, do you think they would have found you?
Yeah, fuck yeah, they would have found us. Dude, we upstairs in the fucking apartment complex, and they know we in there. When they went to beat on the door, we kind of messed up because we went to kind of peeking out the window. You know how when you move a little, they know somebody in there. They ain't stupid, you know what I'm saying? So I catch that case, and I end up going to jail. I went in front of Judge Spartman. That was his name, Judge Spartman, the dude that I went to college, high school with, his son and shit. And Judge Spartman ended up giving me 5 years probation. So they ended up charging me with aggravated kidnapping, aggravated robbery. They dropped the aggravated kidnapping and they dropped the aggravated on the robbery and they just left me with robbery. So now I'm out. And it was about a year, almost a year and a half. I get out and I'm on probation. As soon as I get out, my coach still want me to hoop. He still want me to come play basketball. He know what the fuck, he know what went on and everything. He still want to play basketball. So I get out, I stay in Wichita Falls for about another week. My grandma come from Houston to Wichita Falls. Remind you, my 2 sisters been out there dealing with my head parents with their drug problems and all that shit by themselves for about a year and a half. As soon as I get out, I'm leaving and I'm going to college. They still dealing with this shit back at home. So I leave, I go to college. My grandma take me to college, drop me off. She, give me all the stuff a college kid need, give me a little food, you know how your parents drop you off at college, the little shit you get.
It's like a whole package.
Right, little whole package, little money in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? I'm fresh out of jail after catching a real case. Nigga, I'm lucky I'm here, so I'm happy. So I stay in school. About 3-4 months go by. My sisters call me, man. Well, we need you to come home. We need this. We need that. Mama and them doing this. Mama and them doing that. So while at college, I just decided, I was just a little chick I was messing with. She had a car. She was on the basketball team. She had a car. I decided to get up in the middle of the night, and I just bird off. It was the weekend. I just bird off in her car, and I go back. I fly back to Wichita Falls, which is, I think, no more than like 2.5 hours away. I fly back to Wichita Falls. I go down there. I sell a little dope. I do what I got to do to get my sister them straight, put some money in their pocket, break them off, and like a day and a half, I'm back in college. So that was the first time I did that shit. 3-4 months go by again. They call me with the same thing. I have to do the same thing. I did the same thing. Went down, jumped in her car. I'm like, okay, I did it the first time. I can do it again. Didn't nobody even know I was gone. I did it again. I go down there, sell a little dope, get in the streets, do what I got to do, break them off, put some money in their pocket. I burn off back to school. Well, the third time they did it, I ain't have time to do it that time. I ain't have time to go down there and sell no dope and do what the fuck I needed to do. So I hooked back up with the same nigga that we caught the first case with. I hooked back up with him, and we in Wichita Falls, and we go way out to the boonies, and we end up strong on robbing the store. So we go in the store, wee hours in the morning, way out in the boonies. I'm surprised if the doors was even open. Instead of just coming up to the window, we go in the store, take a whole bunch of lottery tickets, take a whole bunch of cigarettes, cigars, some rolls of quarters, the little money they did have in the machine, and it was strong on robbery too. We didn't have no pistol or nothing like that. Took everything we figured we could make some money off of, snatched it all out of the store, took off running out, got a couple beers and shit, some beers to sell. We pretty much loaded up on cigars, cigarettes, and lottery tickets.
Anything you could like use or sell.
Anything we could use or sell. And we didn't know lottery tickets were traceable. We found out the hard way eventually that lottery tickets were traceable. Lottery tickets do have serial numbers on them. And if you ever hit a lick on lottery tickets, then don't go and cash it.
That's insane.
I did not know.
Even knew that.
I did not know. I swear. So we get back to Wichita Falls, whatever, and we just scratched all the tickets. And I don't know how much money we end up having. We probably end up having about almost $500, which is a lot of money compared to being hitting a store late night. We didn't expect to get that much, but we ended up hitting for almost like 3-4 stacks on just the lottery tickets. So we go in the fucking store in the hood, cash the lottery tickets and shit. We big facing. We ain't no lottery tickets trade. We just go in there cashing the hoes.
Counting money.
And so we go in there the next day, and the woman tell us, they come take the ticket. They come take ticket from my trash can. They say ticket from the trash can. We're like, oh shit. Remind you, I'm on probation. They didn't got my probation transferred from Wichita Falls, and I'm supposed to be in college, doing my thing in college. So we ended up, I'm the type to where I don't like running, having to look over my shoulder and shit. And I was supposed to go check in. I was supposed to have checked in college. I was supposed to checked in at probation at my college. And it was time for me to check in. So instead of checking in down there, I was like, I know they looking for me. So I was like, fuck it. I dropped my nuts and I just went and checked in. I ended up getting arrested. So I got arrested there. Make this long story short, I got arrested there. I ended up getting 5 years. So I went before the same judge, and he already gave me 5 years probation. Kind of slapped me on my wrist like, man, we'll get out there and do right. And I done what I did, and now I caught this case like a year to the date from the time I caught the first case with him. It was exactly a year to the date when I caught the second case with him.
That's crazy.
So I ended up going for the judge, same judge, and he ended up giving me 5 years. So I get the 5 years. I ended up going to TDC. I ended up doing the whole 5 years. I had got like 3.5, almost 4 years into the sentence when my mom had passed. My mom passed July 26th, and they buried her on my birthday, July 31st. And they didn't let me out and go to the funeral, and I went back to my cell, tripping with my celly, beat his ass up, and I ended up doing the whole 5 years. So I ended up getting out in 2008. I ended up getting out in 2008, and after I got out, all my family had left Wichita Falls, and they went to Houston. So I get out, I go to Houston, and I'm in Houston, and I hooked back up with this chick I used to be in high school with for a little while when I was going to school in Houston. And I hooked back up with her, and shit, she looked out for me. She kind of put me on my feet, you know what I'm saying? She did a lot of stuff for me she didn't have to do. She was a good girl. She was one of those, I ain't gonna say she was lame, but she was one of those chicks that thought smoking weed was like smoking crack.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Oh, you smoke weed? Oh, my goodness, you smoke weed.
No.
Oh. So, yeah, I hooked back up with her. And we ended up staying together for a while, about 8 years. And after I got out in 2008, 2009, I had tried cocaine for the first time. I had never been into hard drugs and shit up until after I got out of prison.
What made you, who introduced you to that?
My little sister, the one I was telling you about, we come up in the elevator, we'd always bumped heads and shit. She done her fair share of things. And I ain't gonna say she introduced me to it, but she told me about it. You know, I had always wondered about it, you know what I'm saying? And she knew somebody who to get it from, and I ended up hooking up with her, and I was getting my weed from her already, from the girl that she knew who to get the powder from. And shit, I was like, at first, no, I'm not gonna take that back, but I'm gonna say this. I was in the X pills and shit. That's when X pills first hit the scene. And everybody was popping them Exos, the triple stacks, and them Exos was crazy and fire.
I heard from like a lot of people back there, you know, the older heads that would tell me like, the Exos, when they popped up in the scene.
Man, them Exos was the shit, bro. Them Exos was the shit. But after a while, them Exos started getting polluted to where motherfuckers was just pressing them hoes, and they wasn't that powerful. It wasn't that punch. It wasn't that Exos that we was used to when they first hit the scene. You know what I'm saying?
It was cut or pressed.
It was cut, right? So. That's what made me want to try powder. So I like, man, fuck this shit. I'm tired of spending my money on all these damn X pills, and sometimes out of 10 of them, 2 of them might be good, some fire. So I was like, man, fuck this shit. I'm tired of spending my money on this shit. I ain't getting my money's worth. I feel like I'm wasting my money. Fuck it, I'm gonna try some powder. So I tried some powder, and I didn't. Everybody say they don't have a bad habit. My habit wasn't that bad. It wasn't. I probably do maybe out of a week, I might do 3 grams total out of a week. But what did get out of control was, in Texas, they don't have casinos. We got game rooms. They call them game rooms.
I heard about those.
To where like you go into like a Circle K or 7-Eleven or any kind of store that you think is a corner store. It ain't no it's a corner store. But when you go back there to the freezers where you open the door and they walk back there and put the beers and shit back there, it's a big ass wall full of gambling machines.
I have yet to see one in person, but I've heard about them.
Oh yeah, you gotta kind of have an inside. You gotta know somebody to get into them. But I ended up having, especially when I did that coke. My grandma had it. My grandma, you know how grandmas is. They gonna be at casinos and shit like that all the time anyway.
They about to hit big all the time.
And she would go all over town, and she would gamble all over town. These different, and at the game room they had it to where like, if I got $50 and I want to go in there and play $50. I'm gonna put $50 in the machine, and they gonna put $50 in. They gonna match me $50. It's called a match. I'm gonna put 50 in, and they gonna put 50 in. That's $100. But you can't take that money out until you get up to $200. So you got to play the whole $100, or you got to win at least $200 before you pull that money out. And it's called a match. So I would make my money stretch, and I would jump around game room to game room all day long, and they would all match my money. Whatever, if I went in there with 50 at this game, and you can only do it within 24 hours. So I go to 5 or 6 of them a day, play 50 here, they give me 100, play 50 here, they play me 100, and I couldn't pull it out until I got up to 200 at least. So I try to stretch my money. But I think my game room habit became way worse than my coke habit did. And it was times to where I didn't know whether I wanted to do coke or go play the machine. And while I was with this chick, I ended up, she was popping pills and shit with me. And one day, one day we was doing our thing, and I don't know if you ever popped them on, you ever heard your friends pop them home, but they make you fuck like a rabbit. You want to fuck like a rabbit on the
Definitely
pills.
heard that.
And well, one day we had popped some pills and it was some trash, and I had been doing coke on the side, and she didn't know what I was doing for the longest. She didn't know what I was doing for the longest, but I had done so much coke that my shit wouldn't work. My shit wouldn't work. You niggas out there fucking that coke, y'all know what I'm talking about. To where you done too much shit, and you got a badass bitch, nigga. You got a badass bitch, nigga, and you can't fuck her there because your dick won't work.
I'll cry.
So I wanted to though, I damn near did because she got to crying. She started crying and shit, and you know the first thing come to her mind, or I'm not attractive, or you cheating on me, or some bullshit. So I had to tell her what the fuck was up. I had to tell her that I was doing coke, and I had to tell her this why.
You had to come clean at that point.
I had to come clean at this point because it wasn't the first time it didn't happen. It didn't happen before, and it kind of blew over. She didn't break down and cry, but this time she had broke down because it just happened one too many times, and she was like, "Man, no, nigga, you either cheating on me or I'm not attractive or some blah 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 blah." Look, baby, look. Man, I'm tired of these X pills. They ain't doing what they supposed to do for us all the time. And I've been doing coke on the side, period, point blank. I want some. What? All that, I want some. Like, motherfucker. So I tell her, man, look, man, I'm gonna let you try this shit, but this shit does females differently than it do men. It'll take over a female like that. You know what I'm saying? To where a man can do the shit, and it'll take a lot longer for his habit to get up, you know. But for a female, if you're not no strong-minded female, it'll take over a female like that. So she ended up doing coke, and she had already knew I was doing the game room thing, but she didn't know that I was doing the game room thing because when I got high, I wanted to play the machine. I'm going to sleep, and I'm hearing these bells ring, ding, 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 ding. I'm hearing these bells in my head. But she didn't know that I was playing the game machines because I was high on coke. So eventually I got her doing the coke, and we got to the point to where we was arguing over shit, and to where she was tired of sitting in the car while I'm in the game room playing the game room. So now I got to introduce her to the game room. So she got to play in the game room, and oh my goodness, dude, I created a fucking monster. I created a monster. She got to the point to where she was going to do. She was hollering at the dope man, the dope girl, the girl I got my shit from. She was in hollering at the dope man by herself. She ended up going to the game room by herself. By this time we had got evicted. Now remind you too, while all this going on, she worked for Chase. She had a good ass job, bro. She had a good ass job, and she had a work ethic that I have never seen nobody have, especially a black female at that. That she had a work ethic to where it didn't matter how many X pills and how much dope we stayed up doing. She got her ass up and she went to work. Me, I didn't have a job, but I was hustling pills. In Texas, and especially in Houston, they got what you call pill mills. I come to you, hey, let me take you to the doctor, young son. I'm gonna pay you $40. Go in there, you tell the doctor what I want you to tell them. They gonna give you Lorcets. They gonna give you 120 Lorcets. They gonna give you 90 Somas, and they gonna give you 60 Xanax.
I did hear about that too from a few people that they used to do that back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know if
back problems or my back hurt.
My back and my neck, whatever.
And they give them a certain count of everything and bag it up, take it to whoever.
Take it to the pharmacy, and I'm gonna pay shit $300 to get all of that. But I'm finna make like 15. I'm finna make 15. That's just wholesale. If I sell them pill for pill, I'm finna make some real money. But I was wholesaling them, and I was making $1,500 easy. So she worked for Chase. She got a good family. She come from a good upbringing. Her family and them had a house. We was staying in her mom's house, so we was paying rent. We was staying rent free at the time. We was staying rent free. We didn't really have no problems. She had a car. I ended up having a car. We ended up going through 3 Lincoln Town cars, and at the time, fresh out of prison, shit, I felt like I was on top of the world at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was on my way to baller status. If you ask me. But all that shit ended up falling apart, bro. We ended up having to leave our mom and them house because we was fucking up over there. By the time we got to the end of the road, we had been through 4 or 5 apartments. We got evicted from 4 or 5 apartments because paying rent late and all this shit, different shit like that. So, shit fell apart. We ended up going to her aunt's house and staying at her aunt's house. And we stayed at her aunt's house for a while. And I had been trying to fuck and get me some somewhere and shit, whatever. And she didn't want to fuck. You know, me in the mind frame that I'm in, I ain't thinking to myself, I ain't thinking like a man would be thinking, you know, we going through this and we at our aunt's house and we got these issues going on. She ain't trying to fuck. I'm thinking, nigga, I want to fuck, bitch. You know what I'm saying? So I wake up one day and roll over and look and she playing, doing a little thing by herself. So I'm pissed off. I'm like, so we get into it. We get into it real bad. And that was pretty much the end of us right there. She ended up going back to her parents' house. I ended up going back to my grandma's house, which were in the same neighborhood, like literally a 5-minute walk around the corner. And I got the kind of family to where they care about if I'm all right, but I feel like that's as far as it go. My dad, he's always been there. I can give him that, and I can say that much for him. I got a lot of bad shit to say about him, but we'll leave that alone. But he's always been there, and I guess some people might look at that as a good thing. Me, I don't look at it so much as a good thing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come up without their dad and like, I just wish he was here, to where it was like us we grew up with. Damn, I just wish he'd go. You know what I'm saying? So he was always there for us, but one thing I can say, he was always there. Second thing I can say is he taught us survival skills. Not your conventional survival skills, you know, like surviving out in the wilderness or shit, but how to make it day by day. If you ain't got nothing to eat, you ain't got to go steal it. Go ask somebody for it. If you got to steal it, okay, you got to steal it. We knew how to do that too, but that ain't the only thing he taught us, which is how to go out and steal. It's more than one way to skin a cat. And he taught us every way he knew to skin a cat in different ways, in different situations and shit. Me and my sisters, we knew how to survive, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, he taught us how to survive, so I could say that.
And from there, after y'all split up and everything, and when you got separated, what happened? You just got up?
Okay, so when we separated, I stayed in Houston for about another month. Now, prior to that, before we had separated, I left that kind of out. I tried to go to school different times, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm one of the motherfuckers who I like how to survive. I know how to manipulate the system. I know how to use the system if I gotta use the system. So, you know, a lot of people don't know that you can go to school, you can use school as a career, so to speak, living off of student loan monies, the Pell Grants, and I did that a couple times. And while that was part of the money me and my girl was fucking off too, even though she worked for Chase and I was making the money I was making hustling pills and shit on the side, I was also trying to go to school. And at first it started out me, I really wanted to try to go to school. I really wanted to try to do something with myself. I went for automotive technology. I hadn't taken any classes yet. I was pretty much still doing my basics and shit like that. But I had got some student loans and we fucked off that money. I did that like 2 or 3 times. I got student loan money, the little money I had left from my Pell Grant, the little money after you pay for your classes and pay for all your books and all that shit. You still got a couple hundred, almost $1,000 left over. I fucked off that money. But the big thing was I qualified for student loan monies. And we fucked off that money. But this last time, right before we had broke up and all the shit had hit the fan, I was due for a student loan check. And I had lost my last Lincoln Town car, but I had just bought a Suburban, and I had it was in the shop, and it was already fixed up. All I was waiting for was my student loan money to come through so I could pay them for doing everything. Everything that needed to be done to it, they did it. And I made sure it was running, it was good, to where the engine light wasn't gonna be on. It was a 98 Suburban. I ended up putting a custom grill on it, custom lights, custom deck, some 18s in the back, tent, you know, the works. Some 22-inch rims. And when we had separated, that's when my money came through. I got all that shit done to it. And I was pretty much, man, like, fuck Texas, you know. I'm tired of Texas. You know, the whole time I was hustling pills and shit and going to school, I was trying to do it the right way. You know, when you fucking with that coke and you fucking with different drugs and shit, everybody got that point to where it's that point to where you had a depression to where you feel like you wake up every day, every other day, and you're like, I'm tired of this shit. Something got to change. And I went through that depression a couple times to where I was like, man, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of this shit. You know, it was times where she would just break down and she was just crying. You know, we was going apartment to apartment, and it's like, we had the money. We shouldn't have had no problem. You know, it was just trying to juggle all that shit and trying to live, have our cake and eat it too. And we were both out there fucking up. And she was covering her fuck ups by with her job from her FMLA and shit like that from her job. She was taking time off, but she was being paid for it at different times. We was just doing a lot of fucked up shit that I really take the blame for. You know what I'm saying? I really, to this day, I sit back and think I fucked off. You know how they say, man, you don't miss a good thing until it's gone? I sit and I think about her all the time. She was a good girl, bro, and I miss her. I fucked up in a lot of different places because she looked at me to take the lead. She gave me the lead. She didn't need me, bro. She was an independent female. She, you know, she was attractive. She was, I ain't gonna say she was like no bad bitch, you know what I'm saying? But if a nigga,
held it down. She was loyal.
exactly, and she was loyal, and that's all that mattered to me.
You can't beat
I wouldn't give a fuck if you was a fat sloppy bitch. If you hold it down and you loyal to me, I'm gonna treat you like a queen.
Because you know, through thick and thin, she was gonna be.
She was there, bro, and I took advantage of that, knowing that, my nigga.
Because you always knew she was gonna come back, no matter what.
It didn't matter
right?
what. I didn't, you know. I can't say that. I ain't gonna say I didn't cheat on her, but I am gonna say that I feel like it didn't matter what I did, she was gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? I took advantage of that, and to this day, I regret that shit. To this
wish
day,
you could go back and do different.
I wish I could go back. I would totally do different with her, bro. I swear I would.
I feel you on that.
But we ended up going our separate ways. She went and did her thing. She ended up going to a rehab. Her parents made her go to a rehab way out in Florida. I don't know, probably to get away from me. We had talked and we had kind of smoothed things out. But shit, you know, after all that shit,
like you can't even go back and reconnect because there's just so much
damage.
damage.
It was just so much damage. It's like it's a done deal, dude. I mean, I feel like if I called her now, if I could call her now, she'd want to talk to me. We'd be friends. We'd be cool, but it'll never be like it used to be. But I put all my money into my Suburban. I got my Suburban running, and my family, like I said, my family the type to where they didn't like me at the top. I was at the top the whole time I went through. They didn't like it that I had her. I'm fresh out of prison. And I done went through a couple cars. I'm having money. I felt like I was at the top, you know, and they was just waiting for me. I felt like they were waiting for me to fall. And when that shit happened with us, that was me. Oh, he ain't got Ebony no more? Oh, man, yeah. He ain't got shit now. They didn't, you know. But through all of that, I didn't always have my uncle. My uncle, Vincent, that's my nigga. You know, even though my dad was always there, as much as I could, I wasn't there. I was with my uncle. Like, it was a couple times in Wichita Falls, when we were in Wichita Falls during the summer and shit. I left there and I was with my uncle. And whenever I could be with my uncle, whenever I was with him, I feel like he instilled in me how to be a man, the shit you supposed to do, the way you supposed to live. He an ex-Marine. He got 4 kids. He got more than 4 kids, but he got 4 kids of his own. But that nigga there, he was like, I could always turn to him. And even with him, I was, you know how coming up as a teenager, I ended up taking his car late one night. And I had drove across town to go see this little chick, and I ended up hitting his car and wrecking his car. And I had to go park it back in the garage, and he got up and he found it. And I gave him some bullshit ass slide. I called myself trying to stood up to his ass. And I gave my uncle hell. But my uncle, man, if anybody's ever been there for me, man, it's been that nigga. And he had always been there. He had always made sure of whatever, as far as clothes, food, whatever. He always been there for me. You know, I look at him like my dad. You know what I'm saying? But shit, I put all my money into my Suburban. Family ain't really the family, your traditional family, to where they really just give a fuck about you. They waiting on me to fall. I had finally fell. So I was like, man, what the fuck am I still in Texas for? I can't get no job. I'm an ex-felon. This shit still hanging over my head. I ain't got her no more. I ain't got kids somewhere else. I ain't had no serious relationship. I was with her for like 8 years. And what the fuck's keeping me in Texas? So I put everything I had, I put it in my Suburban. And I just started driving. I kind of knew where I was going. The first place I was going was back to Wichita Falls. I'm flossing now. I'm sitting on 24. I got some custom grill. My people in Wichita Falls ain't seen me. It's where I graduated from in high school. They ain't seen me since high school, nigga. It's been a while. I'm finna go to Wichita Falls. I'm finna floss for a minute. So I ended up driving back to Wichita Falls. Little small, little boom. It's probably smaller than this place here. But I go to Wichita Falls. And it's the same old niggas on the same old shit.
Repetitive cycle.
On the same old corner with the same old hoes. We're doing the same old shit. So it's just, okay, nigga, you got a car. You back. Well, welcome home, nigga. Welcome home. Everything's still the same. Yeah, that bike over there where you left it.
Nothing changed.
Ain't nothing changed. The same old shit. So shit, I stayed in Wichita Falls for a minute. And it's really in my mind already that I don't want to be in Texas. I don't want to be in Texas. I don't want to be in Texas. I want to get out of Texas, period, point blank. So I visit with them for a little while, stay in Wichita Falls for a couple of weeks, and I just start driving. I don't know where I'm driving. I go up to Oklahoma. I end up in Kansas, Lawrence City, Kansas. And everything on my Suburban working good. Engine light not on, none of that shit on. So I'm sleeping on my Suburban. I wake up, go as I please. I had my ID at the time, but I ain't really looking for work. I'm just really trying to get my bearings right. And it's like, dude, when I was on the freeway, I've never felt the exhilaration that I felt. It was a high I've never felt before. I remind you, I ain't got a dime in my pocket. All I got is a Suburban that look nice with all my shit in the back. I don't know how I'm finna get my next tank of gas.
Honestly, do you feel like that made you like happy? Like you felt free?
Bro, I felt free. I've never felt that high before. And it was a feeling of, whoo, and I'm by myself. I'm just driving. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. I ain't got no money in my pocket, but I'm happy than a motherfucker. I'm happy. I've never been this happy before, bro.
I always found it crazy. Sometimes people get like happy off the little things. Like it could be like real, like they're happiest. They could be doing something so simple.
So simple, right?
Like,
and I'm like, and that was the feeling I felt. And the whole time I was traveling, I was just happy, bro. I was happy. I didn't know even where I was going.
Driving around from Oklahoma made you like really happy. You felt free.
Yeah, I felt free, and I had never felt that. That was like I had done a couple drugs back in my day, but you know what I'm saying. I had never felt nothing like that, and it was a different feeling. It was a different high that I had never experienced before. So I ended up leaving Wichita Falls. I drove through Oklahoma. I ended up in Kansas City, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas. And I stayed there for the first time. That was my first time actually in a different state being homeless. It was my first experience being homeless. I was sleeping in my Suburban. Everything was good on my car so far. I sleep in my Suburban, run my heat every night. I get up, go, park where I want, sleep where I want, whatever. I stayed in Lawrence, Kansas. Oh, well, let me jump back real quick. While I was in Wichita Falls, I put in for housing. And right before I left Wichita Falls, I went to Oklahoma and went to Kansas, got to Kansas. Well, when I got to Kansas, I stayed in Kansas for about 3 or 4 months. And it was an experience. It was, I guess, being homeless, it was all right. It was all right in Kansas. This is my first time ever being homeless. I hadn't experienced it. I had never slept in a fucking car before. I always had a roof over my head. I always had people that, someone looking out for me, whether it was a girl or my sister or whatever. But while I was in Lawrence, Kansas, I was cutting hair. I was hustling cutting hair. They got this college. Lawrence, Kansas is a college town, and I was cutting hair and shit on the side, hustling and shit. And they had this one shelter. I remember I told you I had never stayed at a shelter before. Yeah. I've never stayed in a shelter before, but I would stay outside. I would park there and I would sleep with my van at night. And this was the nicest shelter. This was the main reason. This is one of the first reasons before I started finding about all the crazy shit that they do to you in shelters and these mental places and shit. But the main reason, that was my first main reason for never wanting to stay in a shelter, because this complex, this shelter that I was at, it was nice. Brand new built, state of the art. They fed you good. Everything was perfect about this place. Except they had bed bugs out this world. I'm talking about you walking the door and bed bugs jumping on you and shit. Like, what the? And that was the main talk of this place that I stayed at, that shelter, is the bed bugs was bad as hell. And so I would not stay in the place. I'd stay out in my Suburban or whatever. But 3-4 months go by, and I get word that my housing comes back. My housing comes, and I got housing in Texas. So I'm excited. Oh, yeah, I got a roof over my head. I'm going to go back to Wichita Falls, this old town where everything is the same. Everybody's still doing the same old shit. And at the time, I'm just excited. I'm finally going to have a roof over my head. So I don't literally jump in my car and leave right then. But within a day or two, I'm in the car and I'm on my way back to Wichita Falls to give them the paperwork and give them all the things they need for my housing to come on through and to get my place. And I get about 2 hours away from Wichita Falls, and I'm like, I still don't want to be in Texas. Fuck this shit. And I get like right there to Wichita Falls, and I don't go. I say fuck it. I don't want to be in Texas, especially Wichita Falls, where I'd have caught both these cases. Everybody's still doing the same ass shit. I get like right there to Wichita Falls, and I'm like, man, fuck this. I don't want to be in Texas. That was the point. That was the point of me putting all my shit in the car and leaving Texas, is to get the fuck away from Texas.
Get different scenery.
So right, exactly. So it took me driving all the way back from Kansas City. I got right there to Wichita Falls, and I literally turned around. I didn't go to the housing interview or nothing. I turned around and I went back to Lawrence, Kansas. I stayed in Lawrence, Kansas for about another 2-3 weeks. And at this point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. I still ain't got money in my pocket. Now, remind you, getting place to place all over these, driving state to state, this whole time when I leave from Kansas, I end up leaving Kansas and going to Davenport, Iowa to visit my aunt on my mom's side. She stays at Davenport, Iowa. The whole time I'm driving around, I ain't got money in my pocket. I'm stopping at truck stop to truck stop. And that kind of, I feel bad saying it today, but it was kind of like a little hustle. After I seen how well I was doing, I would stop truck stop at truck stop, and I would ask people, hey, I show them my ID. Hey, I'm from Texas. Somebody broke in my car, whatever, stole my wallet. I don't need no money, but if you could pump some gas in my tank so I can get to my next destination, it would be lovely. And it got to the point to where, shit, I always had a full tank of gas, and when I couldn't, it was one time I did that shit and I asked somebody for it, and they went to pump gas in my car and they went to click it. It was full. Like, damn, oops. I like, damn, my gauge must be broke. I didn't know, or something else must be wrong with my car.
Trying to think of something real quick.
I'm trying to think of something real quick to tell, like, motherfucker, you got a full tank of gas. What the fuck you mean you need some gas? I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck wrong with my car then. So, but it got to the point to where I always had a full tank of gas, and like everybody wouldn't want to pump. Everybody would want to use their card and pump gas in my tank. And when you're asking for gas, $1 or $2 ain't gonna do shit. So I had motherfuckers that would give me $10, $20, $30, $40 at a time. I'm in Suburban. Here's $5, here's $10. And it got to the point to where I left with a full tank of gas and damn near $100 in my pocket to get to whatever state I'm going to next. And that's how I got all over the states in my Suburban.
That's crazy. So
I ended up leaving. I left. I turned around before I got to Wichita Falls. I went back to Lawrence, Kansas. Stayed in Lawrence, Kansas for a couple weeks, and I wanted to go see my aunt on my mom's side. I hadn't touched base with them in a long time, and I ended up driving to Davenport, Iowa. And from Davenport, Iowa, I ended up getting up there, and I still didn't get to see my aunt. I don't even remember what happened to this day, but I ended up not seeing her. Davenport, Iowa was some boony ass country hick town. Like, let me get my nigga ass out this motherfucking place
I do not belong here.
Like, I'm out of place. I better get my ass on. So I'm already got motherfuckers looking at me crazy because I had a cowboy hat. I'm from Texas, and I had this cowboy hat, and I love country music. You wouldn't look at me and you wouldn't be able to tell. But all that rap shit, I don't do rap. I listen to country music. So I'm in my Suburban with these loud ass speakers, custom grill rim with a cowboy hat on, with some country music turned all the way up. So I'm getting motherfuckers looking at me like they giving each other an elbow. Sonny, look at that boy over there. You see him? And like, I'm getting weird ass looks like, I better get let me take this goddamn old cowboy hat off.
Change the music real quick.
Right, yeah, I'm changing the music and I'm trying to duck and hide and shit. And so I stayed in Davenport, Iowa for about 2-3 weeks. And from that point, shit, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I'm just out here. But I still got that feeling though.
At some point in time, do you ever feel like you were lost somewhere in between, or like?
A lot of people ask me that, like what they call it, a midlife crisis or some shit like that.
I want to say like a midlife crisis.
But no, it wasn't nothing like that. I didn't feel like I was lost. I just didn't have nobody. I mean, and it's crazy because I feel like I didn't have nobody, even though like my two sisters, even the one here that I'm visiting here, we've always bumped heads. We've always fought like cats and dogs. Literally like cats and dogs, and like fist fights, pulling knives, calling police on each other, type fight. And my two sisters, they've always gave a fuck about me. My dad, man, I don't know. I think that's still up for toss. Like, I gotta love him because he's my dad, because he's my father.
I feel like people say that, but I necessarily like the way.
And that's how I feel. Like,
you know what I'm trying to say is like people, you don't have to feel
exactly,
because it's like, oh,
like that's my dad. He gave me birth, but he done so much fucked up shit to me to where like
you don't have to. It's like
I don't have to, but it's society. That's what you got to. That's what you're supposed to do.
Shit, you know, that's your sperm, you know, that's your father. You know, you have to. Like, no, I
and
don't.
sometimes I ain't gonna lie. It was a lot of times growing up. I pulled a pistol on him one time when we was in Wichita Falls, and I was gonna blow his ass away too. But he ended up calling the police on me. I ended up going to jail for something. It wasn't for the pistol because I had got rid of the pistol before they had ended up driving up on me. But it's so much shit, and I don't even blame him for the shit that I went through, that he put me through. I blame him more for the bringing the dope to my mom and feed. My mom was obese. She couldn't just get out there in the streets and do the dope and get what she wanted to get. She depended on him, and there was times where he would leave and be gone 2-3 weeks at a time. And me and my sister, them at the time, Mama wasn't worried about no dope. Then she was good. It was like we was a family without Daddy being there, and we was good with that. We was cool with that. Mama wasn't worried about no dope. It ain't like she could just get up and leave the house and go get it herself and do what she want.
When he came around, it was different.
But when he came around, it was back to the old ways. Mama like, damn, Mama, you wasn't worried about no dope the whole time he was gone. Now he here. Now it's like, you know, now it's both of y'all against all of us again. Now y'all jumping on our ass and we getting punished and yelled at and bitched at, and you didn't, you know, he coming, he raising hell, and like, fuck that nigga. That's how I felt a lot of times. And it's like, I don't know, I resent my dad more for what he put my mom through than the shit from what he put me and my sisters through. But yeah, he'd come home and shit'll be different, and I resented him for that. But yeah, like I said, I got to Davenport, Iowa. I ended up not seeing my aunt for whatever reason. I don't even remember why. But that was a wasted trip. But I still felt free. So from that point, shit, I opened up Google Maps on my phone and I just was looking across the states like, where the fuck am I gonna go? What am I doing? And I saw Seattle. I've always wanted to see the mountains and the water and, you know, shit like that, and the snow and shit. So I drove across the top and I went to Seattle. And it changed from me being happy to me being scared as hell. I drove across the mountains in that snow, and I had that first little slip of the steering wheel, and my motherfucking Suburban slid and hit.
Driving in snow, like real
goodness.
heavy snow with like ice and stuff, and you had that first, you know, turn. That's
it woke my ass up.
You sit there like two hands on the steering wheel.
It woke me up. Like, and that's another thing too. Even though I was happy as I was driving, I gotta salute. I salute truck drivers, cause it's like every 2-3 hours, I had to pull over and stop. I couldn't do it. It's like I don't see how they do it. Driving hours and hours at a fucking time. When it's like all that letting the window down and turning the radio up and letting the wind hit your face so you can stay, don't work. It didn't work for me. And it's like every 4 hours was the most I could drive at one time. And I had to pull over and stop and wake myself up, drink coffee, do whatever I had to do, take a break, walk it off, walk it out. I had to walk it out, I had to do something.
Get that blood flowing.
Yeah, get that blood flowing before I had got back on the road. And it's like every couple of hours I was having to stop and shit. But driving across this motherfucking snow and these mountains for the first time ever, and I ended up having 2 little slips. That first slip kind of woke me up, and that second slip kind of scared me where I didn't want to drive no more. I was ready to pull over and just stop driving. But I went ahead and footed through it, and I ended up making it to Seattle. And right when I motherfucking made it to Seattle, my engine light popped on. It ain't popped on this whole time. I left Texas, went to Wichita Falls. Went from Wichita Falls to Kansas City, from Kansas City back to Texas, and then from Texas back to Kansas City, back to Davenport, Iowa, and from Davenport, Iowa across to Seattle, and now my engine light come on. And I didn't know what the fuck. So it turns out that I need an oil change, at least that's what I thought. come to think about it, I didn't think about it. Did you know this is the first time I thought about that? My engine light came, not the oil light.
Engine light. So
The
it could have been.
engine light came on. And I told you I put too much oil in it. That's probably what the fuck it was. I didn't need no fucking oil change. I needed a fucking engine. There was something wrong with the engine. And I ended up changing the oil and put too much oil in it. And I blew that, at least that's what they told me. That I blew the gasket. I blew the gasket off of the oil. And I cracked the heads because I drove it while it was hot. So all that money that I didn't put into my Suburban, and I didn't even have the money for them to come tow it. When the shit happened on the freeway, I ended up having to drive it to where I had drove it to, which probably what cracked the heads. And if you know anything about cars, once them heads cracked, I mean, it's repairable, but you might as well get another car from what it's going to cost. You might as well get another car.
So all that money you about to throw back into
all
it.
that money I threw into
man.
it, the rims, the custom grill, the speakers, the tent, all this extra shit I done put, the highs, the lows, all this money I done put into the car. I ended up having to find a tow company to come tow me from where I was, and I couldn't pay them to tow it. So I was like, look, come get my car, take it to your shop, tell me what's wrong with it. When I pay you to fix what's wrong with it, I'll pay you for the towing at the same time. And when he told me what's wrong with it, shit, I didn't have no money. I was panhandling gas from state to state just to make it. I didn't know how I was gonna pay anything, let alone the tow or to have it fixed. So he told me what was wrong with it, and shit, he got the car at the shop now with all my shit in it. I still had a lot of my personal shit in it. So shit, at this point, when he told me what was wrong with it and what it was gonna cost to have it fixed, I couldn't pay that. So all that money just went up in the smoke. He ended up keeping the car, keeping all my shit that was on the car. And now, that's when I really became homeless in the streets on foot. Like actually not having no heat and sleeping in the cold and catching the bus and moving around from foot to foot. And that whole trip, I hadn't brought no drugs with me and shit. The only time I had left drugs back and the coke and shit, I had left that alone when me and old girl had split up. I left that alone. But when I got to Seattle and all that shit happened, I was so fucking depressed, and just that happy feeling I had was gone. I'm homeless in a strange ass state. I don't know nobody. I ain't got nobody. I can't call mom or grandma. I can't call nobody up. Hey, I need $20. Can you wire me some money? I ain't got nobody like that. So, shit, I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do then, bro. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Where'd I go from here, kind of?
Well, yeah, and that's where I was at, and it's like, shit, I was depressed. I had looked around. I'm a new face, big ass black nigga, supposedly homeless in the street, walking around asking motherfuckers. Where I'm from, you don't walk like in Arizona. They just come up to you, it don't matter who the fuck you are. Hey, you got blues? You got blues? Motherfucker, in Texas, you don't do that shit here. You don't just walk up to the biggest, blackest motherfucker you know, talking about, hey, you know where I can get some coke from? And it's like, that's normal in Arizona. You know, that was normal in California. But it's like, in Seattle, when I was in Seattle, I couldn't find no coke. I'm depressed. I done lost my car. I done lost my main source of transportation, roof over my head. All my personal shit was in there. I need some drugs, man. What the fuck? I need some drugs. And coke, I had found coke. I had found coke one time, and it was so watered down and stepped on where I was pissed off that I had paid for it. So that was my first time dibbling and dabbling with methamphetamine. They call it G. But that was my first time dabbling with methamphetamine. And I smoked a little methamphetamine. And it was just something to do at the time. I'm in a new state. I'm homeless. I'm on the street. It's plenty of it once I got to learn Seattle and the bus system. And like my thing was, I would jump on a bus and I would ride it all the way that way. And when it got to the end stop, I'd get off and ride it all the way back the same way. And I'd get off right there and get on a different bus and ride it all the way that way. Get off there, ride it all the way back that way. Get off and ride it all the way, but ride another one. And I do that shit all over town all day. And that ended up being, and I do the same thing on the light rail. And that became like my safe haven. A lot of times that's how I would get my sleep. That's how I would that's where I would rest. I felt comfortable. That's where I would rest my head at. And motherfucking couldn't find coke. Methamphetamine was just out the question. That was just something that was a white man's drug. Coke is a white man's drug too, though. Either way, I felt more comfortable with coke, something I knew about. I didn't know what the fuck no methamphetamine was gonna do to me, so I couldn't find her. So shit, I started dabbling with methamphetamine, and I started doing methamphetamine, and it started off at, I'd say at the most, a gram could last me a week, maybe a week and a half, a gram of methamphetamine. You know, I wasn't smoking it like that. But I tried methamphetamine for the first time. I don't know, I wouldn't say it was different from coke, but it slowly got bad. It slowly started getting to where I was doing more and more. You know, I wasn't the type to where I was out there robbing and taking shit from motherfuckers to support my habit. But I had a couple hustles to where if I wanted it, then, you know,
you could have it.
I could go get it, exactly. It wasn't, I'm a booster, you know what I'm saying? A lot of motherfuckers, you know, a booster motherfucker go out there and steal shit. You know, believe it or not, I'm 6'8", but I can walk in down to any store and walk out with that motherfucker and they gon' have a nice day, Mr. Bailey. See you tomorrow, same time. With all this shit in my bag, but yeah, I started doing it and slowly started getting out of control. What I mean by out of control is the most I've ever stayed up was like 2 days at a time. So I don't know if that give you guys some idea how bad it was.
After 2 days, how would you say you start feeling? Like?
After 2 days, I had to lay it down. You know, it wasn't no fighting and trying to get high and shit. I was groggy. Sometimes I would hallucinate, or at least I thought I was hallucinating. Today, if you ask me, I'd tell you I was really seeing and going through some of the shit that I was going through. But after 2 days, I went and laid my ass down somewhere. And like when I didn't have it, I was good. I weaned myself from it. I stopped doing it. I'd go 2-3 weeks without doing the shit, and I was good. And after that 2-3 weeks, that itch started coming back, and I wanted to do some more. So shit, I go do some more, find some more, get high, stay up for about 2-3 days doing it, and I fall off and take my ass to sleep, chill out, and I was good. And it went on for like that I was in Seattle homeless for 4.5, 5 years, my first time. And at this time when I was doing this shit, putting up tents and shit wasn't shit, so it's not a big deal in Seattle. You know, as long as you ain't on private property, as long as you ain't in front of no business, as long as you got a piece of place where you can put up a tent and it ain't bothering nobody, then living out of tent wasn't shit. That was a thing to do. You just motherfuckers stay out of tents all over Seattle. They actually had a place. They actually got a couple places now. Like they number them like 1 through 10. Tent City 1, Tent City 2, Tent City 3, and it's like they call them tent cities, to where it's like, for example, take this for example, like this whole room, they branch this part off, this little section right here, and there'll be a fence up around this little section right here, and you wouldn't be able to see over this fence, or through the fence, but behind this fence is a lot of homeless people, and you never know it unless, and they didn't have the entrance on the front side of, you know, where all the traffic and shit was, so you can see motherfuckers going in and out. But they have the entrance around the back somewhere, to where behind this fence is a whole bunch of tents, and they call it Tent City. But it was like a jail. It was like a whole bunch of politics. You had to do security. You had to be in at a certain time. You had to put in community service hours. It was a whole bunch of politics in order to stay in this tent city. But it was like a small little city of nothing but tents and homeless people, and they got them all over the city that's like that. And you see them every day driving by in the city and shit. You see an area, but you wouldn't know that area was a tent city because you can't see over the fence, or you can't see through the fence because of the little green shit they got on the fence, whatever. You never know that behind this fence it was a tent city, and a whole bunch of homeless people stayed back there with tents. But it was politics and shit. So I'd rather, me personally, I tried to stay in one of them once, and I got kicked out because I spoke on some shit that I guess I wasn't supposed to be speaking on. Somebody was getting done wrong, and I spoke on the shit, and they ended up voting me off the island. So I got voted out, and after that, I never went back to Tent City. But like a lot of people, like I come across a lot of people with just stories in Seattle, to where, like I asked them, you know, pretty much some of the same questions you asked me, like how you get there, you know, what'd you do to get here? It's like a lot of people, I've come across a lot of people that that got money, they get checks, 3-4 checks a month, to where they can afford to pay their bills. They can afford to do whatever they got to do to live how society says you're supposed to live, pay bills and all that stuff. And they choose to be out on the street. And I can't say that at that time I was choosing to be on the street, but I didn't have no other choice but to be on the street. I could have went to a shelter, but I don't trust those places. Everywhere you go, they got stipulations and shit. I'm not a stipulations person. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I don't answer to nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I just decided to just live in the streets and just do me, and I survived. You know, a lot of people know this. It's harder out there for the women than it is for the men. But you even got some men out there to where it's hard to survive out there in the streets, especially if you're dibbling and dabbling. I had a lot more people that I used to talk to and involved with that were more hardcore to the drugs and shit than I was. You know, I ain't never banged. I don't do the needles. I don't do no banging shit like that. But the little crowd that I was in and the different people that I did have half-ass trust, I've seen a lot of different shit, and I was experiencing to a lot of different shit that, you know, being in the street is not easy. You know, it's not hard. It's not hard by far, you know, especially if once you get to know the ropes and you know how to survive. Like, living out of tent is not so bad, you know. At one point I was living out of, you know, when you say tent, you think of this little dome, a little small tent you crawl into. But you have people, and eventually I had 2 or 3 of my own, to where you got these big ass tents, the ones you can walk in and you can live in. And it's like a tent, like damn near half the size of this room, to where I could walk in this tent. I had me a generator. I had me one of those little battery things with the jumper cables on that you boost off cars. Plug my phone up in, plug electricity into. When I got tired of using the propanes for heat, like those little green things you see on the shelves in the stores.
Yeah.
They the little propane things. You know, I kept those. I kept a shitload of those at all times, where it kept my tent heated up. If I wanted, when I got tired of using those, I would use. That was my number one tool when I was first in Seattle, was a blow dryer. Believe it or not, a hair blow dryer. And I always had long ass extension cords. And the number one thing for homeless people, the number one problem they would have being homeless is trying to find somewhere that will let you actually sit and charge your fucking phone. So my number one thing when I would go around town, all over town, to these different places, was I knew where all the plugs was, high and low. I knew where I could find a plug outside of business or outside somewhere, to where I could plug in and I could sit there, I could charge my shit and do whatever I want to do all day long.
And didn't have to worry about nothing.
And wouldn't have to worry about nobody fucking with me. So it went from me finding all the plugs and knowing where all the plugs were, to now I know where all the plugs at. So my number one tool became a blow dryer. I would take this blow dryer and I would know where all the plugs at in any part of town. And I would always have about 3 or 4 long ass extension cords. So I could plug in my fucking extension cord over here, and I could be way down the sidewalk somewhere with my extension cord with my blow dryer plugged in. And that was my heater all night. The way I met you sitting, usually I'd be somewhere around a plug, and I'd be right there in my sleeping bag with that blow dryer blowing on me inside my cover. I'm warm to the motherfucker all night. I'm good. So the blow dryer kind of became the blow dryer with the plug, and knowing where all the plugs was. That was like my number one fucking tool for like my first 3-4 years. I knew where all the plugs was, and I always had a blow dryer, a hair blow dryer on me for my heater. But when I was in Seattle, and the number one problem, one of the number one problems homeless people have in Seattle, that's probably the biggest problem you have. That's probably the biggest down thing you have, living out of the tents, is you have to leave your shit sometime. You gotta leave. You can't, you know.
Can't take it with you everywhere.
You can't take all this shit with you everywhere.
You gotta bring it down, load it back up.
You either gotta take it down and take it with you, which most of the time I travel light. I was on a bicycle all the time, so I would always have enough shit to where breaking down my tent and putting everything on my back and jumping on my bike and going to the next location wasn't shit to me. But eventually it got to the point to where I done accumulated so much shit, and I got so much shit that I can't take this shit with me. So you gotta have at least one motherfucker you trust, to where when you leave a spot, somebody gonna be at the spot to watch the shit. And we would reverse, we would vice versa. When he needed to leave, he'd leave, or she'd leave, whatever. Somebody would always have to be at the spot watching. That's the only downside about living out of tent, but in Seattle. But other than that, I mean, shit. I come from having shit, you know, but living out of tent. Once you got to doing it, once I done been in the streets 2-3 years, and I'm learning, I'm learning the ropes. Shit, living out of tent became to where shit, it ain't so bad. Maybe this is better than going to pay rent and living out of a fucking apartment or doing it the way society says you should do it.
So you would say you got comfortable.
So I got comfortable with the shit. I got content with living that way. So it got to the point to where shit, get up and look for a job for what? Shit, I hustle shit. I smoke the dope, but most motherfuckers that smoke the dope, most damn near 98.99% of everybody that smoke dope sell dope. Or they fuck with somebody that sell dope. So you always had your hand on some dope to where you always had a little side hustle. Whether it was selling some dope or whether it was me going out to the stores and boosting shit people needed. You know, my biggest thing was Home Depot. I would go to Home Depot and they had these little saw blades, these little circular saw blades about that big, the little thin saw blades with the diamond cuts on them.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And them hoes go for like 60 to 70 bucks a piece. And they like this thin, they like that. You know what a saw blade is, a little circle.
Yeah.
And shit, 60, 70 bucks a piece, bro. I put 600 this on and 600 this on.
2 saw blades under your umbrella, just walk out.
You do the math and just walk out the door with them hoes. Shit, I got 8 saw blades times $70 a piece. You do the math. So I get that money on the gift card, and I got this money on the gift card now. And now all I gotta do is it ain't shit to hustle off that $600-700 on a gift card. It ain't shit to hustle that off to somebody. You got all these motherfuckers coming in every day, going in here buying shit. You know, I used to work with a contractor. So, I knew the type of business the contractors do. They come and they spend hundreds of dollars inside Home Depot all the time.
They even they got accounts with them and everything.
Hey, I got $600 gift card right here, man. Go ahead and get whatever you want. Give me $400. Give me $300. That ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, damn near any store I wanted to, you know, even if I wasn't going to boost something that somebody had put in an order for and they needed it to where I could go boost something. Hey, I need this. Okay, well, I'm going to go get this, and it's already sold. I'm going to take the item back to them. Worst case scenario, shit, I go to fucking Safeway or QFC or Fry's or whatever, get a whole bunch of food, walk out the door with their food, and somebody already put in an order for all this food, so all that shit sold. Worst case scenario, I get the money on the gift card, and I sell them the gift card. That's just like cash. So, point being is, I had a hustle, you know. It was ways to get money. And I did whatever I had to do to get money. You know, I ain't gonna say, because a lot of times, it was one point in time I wouldn't go do shit to support my habit. I wasn't doing shit to support my habit. But it was shit that I had to pay cash for, and it was hygiene and different shit that I needed, and shit that I needed to get done to where I needed cash to do it. And a lot of times when I was doing it at first, I'm not gonna lie, at first I wouldn't only do that shit unless I needed money in my pocket to actually take care of some business. But kind of towards the end, but I ended up leaving when I eventually left Seattle and I went to California. I started doing it to support my habit, and my habit got worse. I call myself leaving Seattle because of shit that was going on in the streets, gang stalking. I don't know if you ever heard that. That's a whole other interview in itself. But I started experiencing gang stalking, and it was just a whole bunch of shit in the street that I was new to, that it was kind of freaking me out and spooking me. And I was like, man, I need to get the fuck away from this place. I need to get the fuck away from these drugs for a little while. It's time to go. So I made the decision to leave Seattle, slide back away from drugs and leave that shit alone for a while. And at the same time I made that decision, my sister and my brother-in-law were in Houston, and they were leaving Houston to go to some kind of program in Palmdale, California. And I didn't want to go back to Texas, and I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do after leaving Seattle. I'm not leaving in my Suburban, I'm leaving on the bus. And I didn't know where I wanted to go and what to do, so I was like, fuck it, I ain't never been to Cali, I want to go to fuck it, let's go to Cali shit. Let me go see what the Crips talking about out there, see what Hoover Street and all this shit talking about. So shit, I decided to leave Seattle, and I met them in California. I went to LA. I was introduced to Skid Row, Echo Park, Santa Monica. I was all over the place. Grape Street. I was all over the place. 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 I was I was all over the place. And that's just like me. Period. I don't never sit. I can't sit in one spot too long. All these different cities I went to, I would jump on the bus, just like I explained to you, and ride both ways. Jump off that bus, jump on a new bus, and that's how I learned the city. And I did the same thing when I got to California. I ended up hooking up with my sister and my brother-in-law. They were in Palmdale. I left LA and I rode the train to Palmdale, and I ended up hooking up with them, visited with them for a while. I didn't really like Palmdale. It was too small. I'm more of a city, LA type motherfucker. So I visited with them. I would go down there every so often, stay a couple days in a little small ass Palmdale. But I was like, no, it's too small for me. I gotta go back to LA. So I went back to LA and really like leaving Seattle, telling myself, time to leave the drugs alone, time to try something new, get your shit together. I really jumped out the frying pan into the fire when I left Seattle and went to California, because it was way worse. As far as the gang stalking, as far as just living on the street, period, as LA was. And I should expect it, but I'm going to fucking LA. I'm going to home of the gangbanging. What did I expect?
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Wasn't gonna be nothing like you weren't. What were you expecting totally? Like,
I don't know. I really didn't know what the fuck I was expecting.
Expecting something way better, or just like
I'm not gonna say I was expecting something way. I wasn't worried about whether it was better or not. It was just something different. To me, it was different. It was a different scenery, and I ain't gonna lie. Seattle is beautiful. That's where I want to be right now. I really wanted to be in Seattle, but I explained that to you, and I feel like Seattle's too close to Arizona right now. But Seattle is beautiful. I mean, you got to really go out your way to find the dope spots in Seattle. It smells like pine trees everywhere. It's beautiful everywhere.
a lot of wooded areas.
It's not no
like
fucking
that.
litter and trash everywhere. It's water everywhere. It's beautiful and it smells fucking awesome everywhere you go. Mountains and hills, and it's fucking awesome in Seattle, dude. I love Seattle. If I could go back anywhere right now, I would go back to Seattle. But my first time dealing with fucking with methamphetamine and actually being in the street and being homeless there, outside of the experience I had in Kansas City. That was the longest experience I had there in Seattle. I was there for like 4.5, almost 5 years. And my drug habit was slowly accumulating like it does with everybody. And it was getting worse and worse. And, you know, I was going through real depression, lonely all the fucking time. You know, I feel like I'm a pretty decent looking guy. I didn't have a whole bunch of girlfriends. I wasn't getting a whole bunch of pussy and all that shit. But I was just always by myself, dude. And it's like, even when I wanted to walk that straight line and do right, it's like, fuck, man, I ain't got nobody. I'm lonely. I'm by myself. Fuck it, give me some dope. And even when I was trying to do right and leave the dope alone, and I wasn't looking for no drugs, like literally, like somebody will come out the blue and 2 grams will fall in my lap. Oh, what is that? A free 2 grams? Well, shit, I might as well if you gonna give it to me. So it's like, even when I was trying to do right, man, it's like, the demons was working on me, man. They were working on me real bad. So, like I said, I left Seattle, went to California, jumped out the frying pan into the grease because it was way worse in California. I only stayed there for about 7, 8 months. And my sister and my brother-in-law, they decided they wanted to leave and come back to Texas. So I was like, shit, I want to go. I didn't want to go back to Texas, but I didn't want to stay in California by myself either. I was like, man, fuck California, man. Let me get the fuck away from here before I end up dead somewhere. So I ended up leaving California with them after about being in the streets, running around for about 7, 8 months. And they left, and they were coming here to West Texas. And before they got here, we went through Arizona, and I was like, fuck it, drop me off here. And that's what they did. They literally dropped me off in Arizona. So I stayed in Arizona, and I ended up staying there for about, it's probably been about almost 3 years. And I stayed there for a while, fell back into my depression mode. And it's like overnight, when I got there, the drugs were methamphetamine and heroin. And like, literally, like, dude, like overnight, heroin disappeared. Nobody was asking for heroin no more. and everybody was asking for fentanyl. They call them blues there. You got blues there, you got blues, you got blues. Like, I ain't never had the urge to fuck with heroin, period. But when I seen her with them fucking fentanyl between the motherfuckers, I damn sure they want to fuck with that shit.
Fentanyl took over big time.
It took over. I'm talking about it flooded the fucking
Big
streets
time.
so bad. Like, literally overnight, I went to sleep and woke up the next morning and, like, you had motherfuckers that wasn't even looking. I mean, methamphetamine is still a thing there. You still got motherfuckers smoking, but you got motherfuckers that, and now they finna come out with these, like the Skittles. Like, you know how the X pill had their little session and shit. Well, they finna make these fentanyl pills like Skittles. They gonna have them all different colors and shit. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's gonna be more appealing because they gonna have different colors, they gonna be pressed differently. They gonna have horses.
Bunch of other stuff in it that's just gonna
all kind of other crazy shit, dude. And man, when I tell you, it's like zombie. It's like The Walking Dead in Arizona, man.
like Philly. They got a part in Philly. I can't remember the name right now. I used to go to Philly like when I'm in Jersey and stuff like that, man. It's bad, man.
It's bad, bro. It's real
It's
bad.
like a zombie land out there.
I don't recommend nobody. And it's really, the game is really getting more fucked up because now they putting that shit in the methamphetamine. They put the shit in the weed. They put the shit in the coke. They put the shit in everything now. Supposedly to make you more addicted, more faster to whatever drugs you're doing. But it's like, man, you got a motherfucker not even wanting to smoke weed out in this motherfucker that shit gets.
Drugs hit everybody different. Like, say if you take it, right, you do the fentanyl, you hit it. You're like, oh yeah, it's great, right? And then I take it, and I have a whole different reaction. Like, it's just, that's what a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, it don't look bad, you know? It's like,
it look bad out there. I mean, in Arizona's just, the streets is flooded with it, dude. It's like everywhere you go, it's like blues. It's like, man, leave that shit alone. You know, I don't knock nobody to do their thing. You know, I ain't the judgmental type, but them blues gonna be the end of the world, bro. But yeah, I got to, they dropped me off in Arizona, and I got to learn my way around Arizona the same way I did around Cali and Seattle, jumping on the buses and the trains and just going all over the place. So I learned my way around town to where I knew where all the dope spot was and shit. And I say by this time, I'm still dibbling and dabbling, but my habit wasn't nowhere near as bad as it was when I was in California and Seattle. I slowly started leaving that shit alone because of the fentanyl. They were cutting all the damn dope with the fentanyl, and that fentanyl had me scared. So I'm slowly weaning myself and backing away from the dope while I was in Arizona. I went to jail a couple times for some bullshit, boosting shit. I went to jail one time for boosting shit, and I went to jail a couple times for getting some tickets, and the tickets turned into warrants. But this last time I went to jail for possession of paraphernalia, and it was an empty bubble. And I ended up getting locked up. And I ended up staying locked up for about 6 months. And I stayed locked up for that 6 months, and I finally ended up eventually going to court, and they let me out. And I was supposed to go back inside for probation and shit. But I left Arizona, and I came here to visit my sister and my dad. And this is where I've been. I've been trying to, you know, I've been here almost 2 weeks now. And you know, a lot of people, I'm used to being in the street so cold, it really ain't shit to me to be out there in the street. I like the cold for one, so it don't really bother me as much as it will bother everybody else. But you know, I have a lot of good-hearted people come up to me, and you know, like you just dry ass, you just came up to me and just, you know, hey man, here, good looking out, you know, whatever. And I really feel like I love my people, man. My people fuck it up for us, though. My people fuck it up.
Give it a bad stereotype, you get me? Like,
and it's like once we got that bad, we already got a bad stereotype because we black. But it's like the ones that's out there and that's really fucking up and doing fuckboy shit that's not cool. You know, they really making it that much worse because we already got this fucked up stereotype, and you out there making it worse. But it's like I try to go out my way for not just my people, but everybody, because I don't play politics. You know, if you're a good-hearted person, if I can help you, I don't care what color you are. I look out for you. You know what I'm saying? I've given motherfuckers my last. Somebody's come and give me $20, and I give 10, 15 of it away to somebody else. But I always try to pay it forward. I feel like I got a good heart. You know, if if I was to die tomorrow, I feel like I got my spot in the kingdom. You know, I've been working on my spiritual aspect, my spiritual side for a long time, and I got a long way to go. But I believe in Jesus Christ, man. I know He died on the cross for my sins, and I know He's alive and well, and He on His way back. And I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I'm a strong believer in that. And it ain't just doing good that's gonna get you into the kingdom, but I try to do good as much good as I can, when I can, regardless, just because that's who I am. But yeah, I've been here about almost 2 weeks now, and I got into it with my sister the first night I was here, and I ended up having to walk way out from the boonies and stay out. I plan on staying out in the cold anyway, because just me and my sister, we family members to where, you know, you got those family members to where you get along from a distance.
Yeah, it's the best way, but in person, man, it's just like, it's like Tom and Jerry.
Right, yeah, exactly, that's just what it is.
It's like a smash on sight, we gotta fight.
And it's like, and then so we smash on sight, shit blow over for a couple days, and we good for a couple days.
And it's crazy because you don't really talk about it, like, oh, what the fight was, or talk it out. It's
right?
just like,
it's understood.
Yeah, it's understood, and it's like normal. You become to normalize it, and it's just crazy. And people are like, oh, you know, y'all crazy, and it's like, we do it all the time, so it's just normal to us.
Normal to us,
like, which is crazy, man. It's just a crazy thing.
Yeah, I've been here, and I'm trying to get back to Houston now to go see my other little sister, and go see my uncle, go see my nigga, man. I'm waiting to hear from him. But after that, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't even tell you I got a plan right now. I don't know. I don't know. I just take it day by day. I feel like the Lord blessed me with everything I need daily. You know, other than that, I don't do nothing but I just pray on it and take it a day at a time. You know, as far as drugs and shit, I ain't thought about drugs since I've been out. I ain't had the itch for them. I've had the chance to get them. I just ain't wanted them. And I mean, of course, you know, me being who I am spiritual, I'm gonna give all thanks be to the Lord because of that. But I mean, whether it's because of that or not, it's just I just ain't had the urge to fuck with the drugs. And it's like, I feel like as long as I'm on that straight and narrow and I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do and I'm trying to get my shit together, everything coming together for me. You know, I have people come and bless me all the time. I'm not hungry out here. I probably eat better than some of y'all out there, you know, to be honest. The only thing I don't have is a roof over my head. And eventually that'll come. You know, I feel like He give us a little at a time. He give us what we're ready for a little bit at a time. And when my time comes, it'll come. You know, I don't even know if that's His plan for me is to have a roof over my head. Maybe I'm supposed to travel and do something to help other people somehow, some kind of way, to where I've always been like a roamer. You know what I'm saying? I've never been able to stay in one spot too long.
That's when you were like the happiest, when you were roaming around with your car, going around.
I felt that exhilaration when I was moving around, and I didn't know where I was going in. I don't know where I'm going.
You just know you had a vehicle and you going to point A to point B, point A to point B.
And that's as long as I get from point A to point B. I feel like even us, bro. You meet and you come across everybody in life for a reason. It's a reason. It's a reason for us doing this. It's gonna be something that occurs because of this, because of what you do, bro. I salute what you do. A lot of people need to have their stories out there. A lot of people don't, you know, they see people out there on the corner, and I mean, it's just in us human to judge, you know, whether it be for the good or for the bad. A first impression on anybody is a judgment. You know what I'm saying? You judging me whether you believe it or not from the instant you see me. Now, whether it's good or bad, that's different. How you judge somebody, that's different. But everybody got a story, man. Everybody ain't out here homeless because you know, eventually I ended up with a drug problem. But I feel like I became homeless because I decided to move spontaneously. I just put everything in my car and I just left Texas. You know what I'm saying? Eventually the drug problem came because of it, the depression and all that shit come with it. But everybody got a story, you know.
Everybody got a story to tell, and I'm here to give it out, man.
Like, everybody not out here because a lot of people are out here because they want to be out here. They don't want to pay bills. They don't want to live in an apartment. They don't want to pay lights and rent. They got the money to do it. They get 3-4 checks a month. They got a partner to get 2-3-4 checks a month. They could easily be in somewhere with a roof over their head. But when I was in Seattle, I met a lot of people that they were on the street because they wanted to be on the street. Not because they wanted to be. There was a lot of those same people that was on the street because they wanted to be, and they weren't out there doing drugs, and they weren't out there doing no alcohol, but they was out there. So they had a car, and they had their tent, and they did whatever. They woke up, went to work every morning, and they was out there because they wanted to be out there. I'm not out here because I want to be out here, but at the same time, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm out here because I had those habits. You know what I'm saying? I got those habits while being out here, personally.
Something you picked up along the way.
Everybody got a story, man. All I'm gonna say is, you know, for y'all those out there who look at somebody and, you know, look down on them, don't do everybody like that. A lot of them deserve it. A lot of them ask for it. A lot of them, that's what they put out and that's what they show you. And cool, I understand that, but everybody not like that, man.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you doing this interview.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, show me your bike, man. Yeah. Of course, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad I was able to do that. You too. It's your boy Mir back at it again, and as you can tell from the clip, I was able to go out there and get William a bike, and you know, so he could get to his father's house, go see his sister, go to the library, go to the church, and not have to worry about the bus running late. You know, it's just inconvenient. Nobody wants to be out there waiting on a late bus. It's just, and he's just not really used to the system out here in Midland. So, that being said, man, like to just really seeing that smile on his face, like right now, was just like a good feeling inside. You know, it's just like, it don't hurt. It don't hurt to be nice. Just remember that it does not hurt to be nice. You know, go out there, do a good deed for the day. It don't got to be nothing big. It's just something small. You won't believe how happy you can just make a person just by, you know, have a nice conversation with them. You know, probably get them some food and something. Just go out there, do a good deed. It's like 6:42 in the morning. I'm tired. I'm gonna go catch up on some sleep. Y'all be safe. Till next time.